Hello everybody. Welcome to another session in the Food Packaging Technology course. We're now in the week 8 of the course, module 5. We've discussed a few of the machineries this week, like retort pouches, and if you recall, we had 2 sessions on bottling machines. Today we'll be dealing with some carton making machines, which is also an integral part of packaging of foods. Now, if you look at a carton, you would see it anywhere. It is a type of a paper board which is used to make containers. How is a carton or a fiber board different from paper? It is more thicker and rigid, and it is usually coated or laminated to make it more durable. ISO defines paper with grammage above 250 grams per meter square as paper board. So if you have a grammage or weight of at least 250 and above of the paper, it will be categorized under the fiber boards or the cartons. Now, when you talk about a cartoning system, it is a system that combines the special cartons with the machinery. And in the machinery itself, the carton is erected from a flat condition, it is filled with the product, and then it is closed. Everything in the same system. And that is what a cartoning system includes. Now, this system includes or employs 3 main operations. Number 1 is the forming or erecting of the carton. In this stage, the material, that is the fiber board, is fed to the carton erection center as a continuous web. It can either be a continuous web, or it can be a flat carton blank, or as a folded carton. Now, these are the ways in which you feed it. So after you feed it and erect the container, the next step is loading. Loading or filling the container in the continuous web fed or the top fed. It's either top fed or it can be web fed. The container has only one face open. So if you recall, if you take any container, just one portion will be sealed, the other portion will be open. And into this open end, you have the products filled. So it is usually an end loading system. But sometimes it's also possible that certain materials are loaded, then the both sides are closed. But this is rare. Usually one end is closed, you fill it from the other end, open it, and then you seal it. Sealing is the last step in a cartoning system. Now, if you look at a top loading cartoning, that employs a flat paper blank that has been cut by a carton manufacturer, and you can produce any shape or size that you require. And once it is formed and folded, it is passed on into the cartoning system. The picture here shows you 2 different types. Section A shows you a hinge cover carton, and section B shows you a dust flap carton style. In this dust flap, you have this extra flap, as you can see in the picture, which you can tuck in and give an extra security. These are only different designs or styles of the carton. So that depends on the carton manufacturer. So the carton manufacturer produces the design and feeds it into the machinery. Now, cartoning itself, you can have it for liquid systems or for solid systems. We had gone through the same thing when we talked in bottling about filling liquids and filling solids. So there is a slight differentiation, and let's go through it. One is the cartons for liquid systems. If you look at this diagram, this is a tetrahedron package. The package is taken as a continuous web from the reel, and once it's taken from the reel, it's fed into the machine. It's formed into a tube. So this shoulder here on top forms it into a tube, section B. And then once you form it into a tube, liquid is filled into it. The section at the bottom is first sealed, and then the liquid is filled, and finally the package is sealed transversely and given its final shape. This is important for liquids such as milk and fruit juices. And this is what is applied in the food packaging system nowadays. Now, in the same liquids, you can also call a Tetra Pak. Tetra Pak is usually applied in aseptic packaging. You'll recall that in the aseptic packaging, the packaging material is sterilized, the product will be sterilized, and they're both bought together in a sterilized medium. So here, if you look at the picture, the Tetra Pak concept is shown. It uses the Tetra brick package, which is oblong in shape. Okay, you can look at the shape, it's oblong in shape. In the first section, A, the material on the reel, it's fed into the machine. It is passed through hydrogen peroxide for sterilization. And in section B, it is formed into a tube, okay, by the longitudinal seam that you have. Once it forms into a tube, goes into the tube heater zone is indicated by D that you see there, and liquid is sterilized separately, UHT treated, whatever sterilization procedure it follows, it is brought in and it is admitted through C, section C. Once the filling is done, it is then sealed and finally the package is given a final shape. So this also comes under cartoning of liquids. A third kind of design is the pure pack, which starts from the carton blanks. As you see in section A, you have these carton blanks. They're heat sealed along one side and usually the output is around 60 cartons per minute. If you look at this picture, the filling and the sealing procedure of this gable top carton is shown here. In section A, the blank is fed to the machine from a magazine or a reel. It's unfolded and it is introduced. In section B, the bottom is heated. It is folded according to scores. Scores are the foldings that are already given. It's folded according to that and it is heat sealed. Now one section is sealed. Now it is an open box and it is then filled and it is top sealed by means of heat and pressure. So this is another type of cartoning system for filling liquids. Now coming to the cartoning system for solids. These solids can be as powders or granules. So there are two ways in which you can add or fill it in the cartoning system. One is horizontal. That is what is shown in the picture here. If you see in section 1, it starts with the carton fed from the magazine. It is shaped. It is in the horizontal direction that the product is filled in and then it is sealed. On the other hand, if you go in for a vertical filling, here you can see the cartons are vertically placed and the product is sealed from top as shown in the picture. Now one difference is either it is filled horizontally or vertically. Another difference is you must have seen in most of these cartons, they have these liners. So these liners can either be pre-lined cartons. So the carton itself, the liners come along with the carton. So this picture here shows you a pre-lined carton. So the liners are already in the carton, it's opened and then it is filled and finally sealed. On the other hand, in this diagram, it shows you where the liner is separated from the carton and only in the machinery itself, the liner is added to the cartons, product is filled and then it is sealed. These are only minor modifications in the cartoning system. But this is the major systems that are used for filling both solids and liquids. Now let's look at carton forming. As we already mentioned, there are two systems. There is a vertical system and a horizontal system. In the vertical system, an overhang delivery of the product into the carton system. While in the horizontal system, the forming system incorporates an inclined gravity advanced magazine. That is, the carton webs, they're introduced in the system in a horizontal phase. And the solids are introduced also in a horizontal phase. So these are the two ways in which you can introduce the product into the cartons. This is a schematic diagram of a horizontal carton forming machine and a vertical carton forming machine. This is again taken from the Encyclopedia of Packaging Technology, 2009. Now, the key to top loading in a vertical system, you have a top loading. The key to top load carton actually lies in something called a special tooling system, and that is designed and manufactured for each carton size and style. So this removable tooling, you can change the tooling depending on the size and the style of your carton. This removable tooling is known as a forming head. The forming head consists of three structures. One is the forming cavity. You have the plunger. And the third one, you have different components for the hopper or the magazine. This is a top load carton forming machine with a double forming head. Now, one of the first steps in carton forming is you need to form the locks. So you lock forming, glue forming or seal forming. Three ways in which the cartons can be formed. Okay. In lock forming, that consists of horizontal or vertical slits. So if you look at this picture very carefully, you can see these slits that are there on the ends. Okay. Now these slits are usually made in the vertical walls of the carton. And it's usually shaped in such a way that two ends can lock each other. The opening of the die slits in the vertical walls and the folding and insertions, they are accomplished by specially designed fingers and guides. So the machine itself has got special guides of fingers that will actually help in locking these two slits together when you have to form the carton. Okay, that is one way of forming the carton. A second way of forming the carton is by glue forming. Here, the glue forming of the flat die paper cut blanks, it can be accomplished by hot melt or cold vinyl adhesive. So one of these two types of adhesives can be used to form the cartons itself. Now the hot melt is generally applied in either hot pot system or a hot melt glue forming system. So if you look at this picture, picture A shows you an assembled and picture B is the unfolded. So the unfolded ones, by using adhesives, you can form them and glue them together by either using the hot melt or the cold adhesive. Second method of forming the cartons. The third method of forming the cartons is by heat seal forming. So in this heat seal forming, they use special coatings or pre-applied hot melt adhesive on the paperboard as a bonding medium. So that is used to form the cartons and give it the shape. So usually air temperatures range from 400 to 800 degree Fahrenheit or around 200 to 425 degree Fahrenheit. Now once the cartons are formed, the next part is conveying them over the conveyor belt. The top load carton is typically carried on the conveyor belt for loading manually or automatically. Now simple flat belt or plastic tabletops are usually used as the conveyors, and this is used to convey the formed cartons to the next section. Now in the manual loading, you bring the product in the flat belt and that runs parallel along with the carton flow, and you can manually add the product into your cartons. While in the automatic, if you recall again for bottling, we had learned different systems of introducing or filling solids into bottles. So similarly, you can use different systems to put your products into your cartons. Example, here in this picture, you see an automatic product loading by vacuum. Under vacuum, it is taken up and added into the cartons one by one. So this can be used for even free-flowing products like individually quick frozen vegetables are usually filled automatically by a volumetric system. You might also recall there's a volumetric system, weight system. So these different things, we have gone through that in the bottling. Same thing applies here for these kind of packages. Now once it is formed, conveyed, filled with the products, the next step is closing. Now general categories of carton closers, they include flighted and lugless models. Two models in this closing. In the flighted system, the actuation and the sealing function, they are timed. Okay? There is a predefined space between two different loads. So in that particular time, once the time is gone, the next carton comes in and then it is sealed, the next one comes in. It's all based on the time. In the second lugless system, they have intelligently controlled motors and other functions that rely on the position of the carton. So when they sense that the carton has come and then they fill it. So it's not based on predefined time, it's based on a sensor that senses that the carton has come in for filling. So that's called the lugless system. I'm just listing here the different types of carton closures. You've got the dust flap style closure, triple seal style closure, lock closure, adhesive closure and heat seal closure. Hope you got an idea of some of these closures that we mentioned in the previous slides. So this is pictures of some carton closers. This is a right angle top load, the first one. And the second one is a straight line lugless top loader control. The second one is a straight line lugless top load carton closer. When you look at carton folding, so some of them are pre-formed, So folding of cartons are containers made from sheets of paperboard that have been cut and creased for forming a design shape. Cut in the desired shape, all the folds are given, and again it is only erected in the cartoning system. So if you can see in the market, cereals, crackers, facial tissues, your detergents, dry mixes, frozen foods, ice cream, butter, bacon, bar soap, candy, cosmetics, many pharmaceuticals are all products for which folding of cartons are commonly utilized. You can recall, you can connect folding of cartons with these kind of products. Now when you select a paperboard, what are the criteria that you should follow? First and foremost, you have to see if they comply with the regulations that are set out by the regulatory bodies like the FDA or USDA and US. Then you have color. The color can be blue white or cream white. Physical characteristics that you want should be another criteria. Any printing characteristics that you want. Based on that, you choose your paperboard. And the barrier properties. Do you want the barrier properties? Based on that, you should calculate if you need some laminations to be provided in addition. carton styles that we commonly see. Now, three broad classifications are usually there. You have the tube end or the end load. The second one is called a tray or the top load, and special constructions can be done according to the manufacturer. The first picture here is the tube end load one, where the carton is in a tubular shape and the final load sealing is on the one end. The second one, which is the tray top load one, which you usually get for your pizza trays. Okay, so these are some of the styles, but at the same time you have special constructions also based on your food product. Now, in the carton manufacturing process, one step is extrusion coating. This involves coating of one or both sides of the paperboard with a thin layer of thermopolymers. This involves coating one or both sides of the paperboard with a thin, usually 0.001 inches layer of a thermoplastic polymer. Why do you need a thermoplastic polymer layer? This is usually lamination is to give it an extra barrier properties. The paperboard itself can only give you the structure, but if you laminate it with a thermoplastic polymer, it added barrier benefits or other properties that the thermoplastic can offer. So usually LDP is the most common one that is used in cartons. So when you laminate it, the most commonly used laminating adhesive. In lamination, you usually use adhesive to stick one layer over the other. So in this, a typical 6-ply laminate can be seen. You can see there, you have in your Tetra Paks, you got polyethylene, paperboards, your aluminium foil, or your sirloin DuPont is also added sometimes. But these three are the most common that you usually add in a Tetra Pak. And these layers are actually laminated or stuck to each other by using glues. You can use wet-based glues or thermoplastic polymers can be used. Another step in the cartoning is your printing. Now, prior to the printing operation, the paperboard is handled in the web form or converted to web to sheet before printing and die cutting. So you can actually print it before you cut it. The main processes for this carton printing today are offset lithography, flexography and gravure. All this will be dealt with in the next video that you will deal with in the printing machines. But just remember that these are some of the processes in which printing is done on the cartons. Now, printing involves solid print, text, you can have illustrations and diagrammatic representation. So any package with the diagrammatic representation or with the illustrations actually help in attracting the consumer to or gives it a sales appeal. It can be done before you fill the. So all that is done before you add it into the cartoning system. Cutting and creasing. Now, individual cartons are cut from webs. You have long webs of paperboards or large sheets of paperboards, and these are cut from these according to the size that you want, and they're creased depending on the shape that you require, and they're scored along the folding lines. So in this technique, an accurately positioned array of steel cutting knives are there. Scoring rules is pressed. So basically you make those folds properly and then they are added into your carton system. Now, hot melts, it can be pre-applied at this or at a later production stage, and the hot melt is later heat activated on the packaging machine for sealing. So this hot melt, as we mentioned, is basically for sealing it and forming the cartons. Gluing also is another simple procedure that is followed, and it converts the flat blank into a side seam tube or a glued shell. So sealing is accomplished with hot glues. You can have hot melts or heat sealing of the polymers. You can either have a straight line gluing or right angle gluing. Right angle gluers is usually used for more complicated cartons or for collapsible trays, which you can, after you open it, you can collapse it. Those kind of things, you can use a right angle gluer. So coming to a conclusion, the global cartoning machine market is experiencing vital growth, and it can grow significantly in the next few years. Now, the carton machines market is expected to grow with the development of the packaging machine. Every day you have new advances happening in the packaging machine, and the cartoning system is expected to grow along with it. Design improvements are being made for automation, capacity expansion, and even for producers' needs, customized needs. Now, there is a trend towards introduction of advanced machine, which is a part of branding and marketing strategy of carton machine manufacturing to serve the companies. I hope you got a fairly good idea of the carton making machines, And I will see you all in the next video with the next set of packaging machinery, which is the printing machines. Thank you so much.